I've discovered after having worked for over a decade now with people, helping them overcome a certain issue. In fact, people typically reach out to me as a last resort. As a hypnotherapist and a transformational expert in human behavior, by the time people come to me, I will hear something like, Susan, I have already done everything. I've tried everything. I've been to therapy. I've tried medication. I've read all the books. I have done the self-development work. I've done the inner child, the healing, the Reiki, the this, the that. I've heard it all before, and I still feel stuck. And then, of course, what we do here actually works. Not only do they get unstuck, but all of a sudden the person then experiences more inner peace, more self-confidence, better self-esteem, and things like that. Those are typically the results on the other side. And what I want to share with you today is this phenomenon that it's almost like, I want to call it like a little insider secret, okay? But of course, it's not going to be a secret anymore because I'm going to tell you about it. What I find fascinating. So hold on, let's back up a little bit, because if you think, okay, if you think that you should be further along, or that you are broken, or that you're not good enough, or that there's something wrong with you, or you're not adequate or inadequate somehow, or inferior, or other people are so much better or smarter, or I don't know, fill in the blank here. If that is you, I have news for you. What if I told you that every single human being, in some shape or form, that's right, in some shape or form, actually feels that way? And that issue is very often at the core of the problem that they typically come to me with. Because the problem they typically come to me with is something like, I have high functioning anxiety, I have performance anxiety, test anxiety, I have a fear of driving, I have this irrational fear of flying, or some other kind of fear. Or some clients will complain to me that they keep procrastinating, they keep self-sabotaging. What's wrong with me? Why can't I be more motivated? Why can't I just stick to my plan? Why can't I take action? Why do I have self-doubt? Why do I second guess myself all the time? And so often when we then have these conversations in our head, it often leads to shame and guilt and blame. And then now who comes waltzing along is the inner bully, the critic, right? And we'll just continue raining on our parade. And so it literally becomes not only this very difficult relationship we then have with ourselves, but those are the things that are holding us back from showing up as our best self and being our best self, right? When the truth is, that version of you is also available. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about, because a lot of people really deep down at the core, when we finally peel the onion, right, when we finally look at what is really causing it, so many people deep down feel, I am not good enough. I am inadequate. I am not smart enough. I am unworthy. I am unworthy of success. I am unworthy of love. I am unworthy of a relationship. I am unworthy of a career. Imposter syndrome, sound familiar? Huge with professionals. How many professionals I've worked with that, when I interviewed them, or they interviewed each other, and they told me about their qualifications, about their experience, about the professional they were, all the hoops they jumped through to get to where they are. They have invested so much time, money, energy into becoming this expert in their field. And very often, still, after all these years, after all that education, after all that experience, feel like an imposter. And that's not warranted. It's like, wait a minute, what would cause somebody like you? And of course, what does that cause? It sort of causes this weird dynamic of, I need to prove myself, right? I need to I'm not good enough yet. I need to do more to prove myself. When I earn XYZ, then I will feel good enough. When I make that title, then I will feel good enough. When I get to that position, then I will feel good enough. Or when I don't know, when I'm a certain age, then, right? But the truth is, that's an illusion, because very often they do get to that place, but then they still don't feel good enough. They still feel like, oh, I'm not expert enough yet, or I don't have all the information. I'm not perfect yet. Where again, now we're chasing the wrong thing, because chasing perfection, that's another illusion that doesn't exist, right? Let's think about it even logically. What is perfection even? Right? First of all, nobody likes perfection. It's really not attractive. Every human being, we all look, think about nature. There is no perfectly straight line in nature. And if that doesn't teach us something, what will, right? When the truth is, we all love and adore vulnerability, playfulness, right? We adore people who can make us feel comfortable, who can laugh with us, who just feel, light and easy. That's attractive, and that has nothing to do with perfection. So in that sense, we could even use the word, we all are flawed, right? What a scary word, but that's not even true. It just simply means that every single human being, we all have some sort of secret sauce about us. We all have something very exquisite, very special, very unique, that only you have, and nobody else has that. And if you could begin to see yourself through that lens, and to appreciate, wait a minute, there's something I have that is so unique. Now, look, yes, of course, there is, like, I don't know, 100 million real estate agents out there. So, but still, every one of these agents, I'm just giving that example just because it's so common. There's so many real agents out there. But every one of these agents, right? They have a certain personality. They have a certain specialty. They have a certain way of communicating. They have a certain way of working. They have a certain way of doing business, right? And the truth is, eventually, right, when you begin to believe in yourself, and when you start to do things that you're so good at, you will attract the people that find you attractive. And that's not everybody. That's certain specific people where our energy matches. We vibe, you know, and that is what's so unique. So therefore, like, this whole idea of I'm not good enough, like, good enough for what? We need to get more specific, because so many people, because of course, look, as a hypnotherapist, right, the first question in the back of my mind I will always have is, wait a minute, what is causing this person to feel inadequate or inferior or unworthy? And there's always a cause, there's always an experience, there's always something that happened to that person, where either, a memory, right, where they were humiliated, or they were rejected, or they were lied to, or they were cheated on, or they went through a very difficult time. And unfortunately, that moment caused them shock, confusion, rejection, right? They felt unwanted, or maybe nobody really cared. And so those memories stick with us, they stay with us, and they often cause us sort of this negative emotional baggage that we take with us into the future. And of course, if we then experience something similar in the future, we get triggered. We get triggered with, you see, last time you spoke up in public, people laughed at you. And so our subconscious holds on to these memories, and then brings up all this anxiety and self doubt and inadequacy issues to remind us, hey, remember what happened the last time? People were laughing at you. And so it becomes like this scary thing, when the truth is, that's just an old story. And unfortunately, a lot of times these memories, they have a hold on us, right? And this is why one of my favorite things to do is help my clients let go of those negative emotions from the past, so that they can no longer impact you. For example, fear of rejection. That's a massive fear. Fear of getting judged, fear of being criticized, fear of being exposed, fear of being seen. Again, a lot of professionals don't put themselves out there the way they deserve, the way they could, because they're often afraid, oh, what if somebody leaves me a negative comment? What if people don't like my message? What if, people, I don't know, whatever. And so we already project all these bad things that are going to happen, which of course are going to make us feel not good enough, right? And then that produces fear, that produces anxiety, and that will literally cause us to stop that in our tracks. Like, put the brakes on. I can't do that because people might just judge me, right? Which is very natural and normal, but it's not useful, right? And so this is literally, this one obviously comes in so many colors, but this idea of I'm not good enough is the thing. It's the monster, it's the elephant in the room that keeps people stuck, keeps people small, keeps people suffering, keeps people struggling. And at the end of the day, everybody is missing out. Now, think about when you think about people that perhaps even on social media that you really look up to, that you adore, that you're like, oh my God, I wish I could be like them. I don't know, Alex Hormozy, Tony Robbins, even Einstein, whatever, right? But even right now on social media, like think about some characters that you consider to be very confident, they're very outspoken, they are assertive, they show up, they just take over, they're out there on stage. And think about what about those people do you admire? Is it their courage? Is it their confidence? Is it the audacity they have, right, to show up? What is it that you admire about them? Now, this was a trick question because here's something I want you to find inside of you. Believe it or not, whatever you said you admire about them, that is also already inside of you. The only difference is you did not yet ignite that courage, confidence, the audacity to be you yet, versus they did. Because somebody like Alex Hormozy, let's just say, right? Whether you like him or not, doesn't really, but clearly he is somebody who's very prominent, especially on social media, right? He's on all these different platforms. What makes somebody like Alex Hormozy Alex Hormozy? You know what it is? It's a decision. Alex Hormozy decided one day, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna be this guy. He did not get a permission slip. Somebody didn't just swoop in like a knight in shining armor and said, okay, Alex, now you're ready. Now you can. Nobody gave him that permission slip. It's something he decided. And and in fact, there's a couple of videos where he even talks about the early days where he was like, oh my God, I sucked so bad. Oh my God, it was horrible. Oh my God, I wasn't elegant yet. I did not know how to speak. And he did it anyway, right? He showed up anyway. He knew he wasn't as refined and as polished as he is today and as, right, having it all together. But he also knew that if I didn't give myself permission to show up and suck and fail and do it badly, those reps are required for us to then be able, right, to refine and get better and grow and expand and learn and become even, right, the I don't know, think about even the different versions, like the iPhone, right? There's version 1.0, then there's 2.0. I don't even know how that goes, but anything, any technology, anything in science, right? There's always different versions. We always start somewhere. And then with that somewhere, then we get to learn what worked, what didn't work, how can we improve, how can we refine. And that's how, right, a person then becomes even better. And what I have found, again, with my detective work here, which is something I'm salivate over, what I have found is I think the biggest, how do we say this? One of if I could inspire people, if I could sort of give them that permission slip, what I would invite them to do is give yourself permission. Start somewhere. Who cares if you're not polished yet or perfect yet or it's not perfectly right yet? Don't worry about that. How about just start? Start somewhere Then you get to collect results. Then you get to collect some data. Now you have some proof in a pudding. And now you have something that you can continue refining and repolishing, versus comparing ourselves to these people at the top. They, right? But how did they get there? They got there by starting at the bottom and then going through the reps. And of course, it's never linear. It's always just like nature. There's no perfect stick in nature. Things are very messy out there, right? Depending on where you live. And yet, somehow nature is thriving. Interesting, isn't it? So maybe all this bending over backwards is somehow useful, and accepting the messy, accepting the, oh, it's not perfect, but let's just keep going and see what happens, right? Which then hopefully can be inspirational, and you can have more fun doing it that way. And that, of course, will bring you into a better momentum, into, right, more of a, okay, this gives me hope, this gives me joy. And so now we are putting 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 the pudding we are now putting the intention into the right momentum, which will give you more motivation, which will give you more energy, which will give you more excitement. And now the wheels are starting to turn. Anything in motion stays in motion, right? And now you have enough leverage that it will just keep going. So I hope that this inspired you at least to realize how far you have come, to recognize how incredible you are, how precious, how unique, right? And hopefully this give you an idea, instead of comparing yourself to other people and feeling like an imposter and what's not good enough yet about you. Instead, focus on what is good enough, and where are you incredibly educated, where are you talented, what are your skills that are so unique that you get to share with the world. So I hope this helped you. And please leave me a comment about your favorite part and what you got out of it. I'll see you next time.